RPG. Hello everyone, my name is Big Bear. I'm a Hero Forge content creator and low-effort streamer. During the making of my last video, I explored a lot of potential armor combinations, during which time I stumbled onto the equivalent of Google's second search page. That's right, I'm talking about the OG Hero Forge items and gear. But since the release of the new and improved weapons and clothes, can the old still keep up? Or will it be like comparing Mario 64 to Mario Odyssey? Well, that's what I wanted to explore in today's video. If you enjoyed this video, then why don't you pop over to the comment section, shower me in love, tell me that I never have to change, only to berate me 5 years from now saying my content is stale. Too real? Let's get a little fiction. Miniatures are but small representations of our characters in the larger world that is RPGs. But he didn't really want to collab, and I was just like, okay, whatever, and that's why Durf has never returned any of my calls. Oh, you're still here. Thought the RPG gag would have really set you off. Anyways, let's continue. Though our minis are small, we still want them to look their best. And that's where Hero Forge comes in. This video is sponsored by no one. But if it were, I'd like it to be sponsored by the studio that is clearly doing their due diligence with their 3D modeling outfits. Since release, this site has seen some amazing designs, but it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. For then, we had the dark times. Look, it actually wasn't that bad. For what it was great. But just like putting on your glasses and then taking them off, once you try the new stuff, it's hard to go back to being blind. Let's give some examples so you know what I'm talking about. It's worth noting that the items in the Hero Forge system are not ordered by release date. Although Hero Forge, that suggestion might just have to appear in a new video, if you know what I mean. At first glance, this is actually good. The old styles just aren't flat out ignored at the bottom because you're too ego-driven to consider your miniature looking even the slightest bit blocky. This really forces you into taking your time to look at the endless possibilities, and a part of me enjoys that. As time has gone by, however, is it still worth choosing these older options, or are there similar picks that are better in style and quality? Now let me introduce you to Yowza. He's our weapons specialist today. Now let's say Yowza wants to be a ninja. Would he be picking up this from Toys R Us? Or would he be picking up these from your local Sweatfest Comic-Con? And if you weren't convinced, consider these 3 inflatable balloons that you get at your Royal Easter Show compared to these 4 beautiful, detailed, carved out 3D models of weapons that look realistic. I mean, come on, look at the difference between these two. To further my point, we're going to have a look at 2 tridents, and the difference is almost night and day which one's the old model and which one's the new. This one here, the metal pole just feels a little bit too thick and there's no texture to it. Whereas if we want to move on to this one, now the pole feels a little bit better in the hands, more weighted, and the texture on the metal is just so much better. Even though it might be indented, worn and torn, or battle worn, it still feels just a little bit more realistic in the hands. Now, it's up to you which one you think is better and which one you'll use for your miniature, but at the end of the day, I know I'm going for the one that just feels a little bit more realistic. A trend that I'm starting to see with weapons that I'm really enjoying is them being thinner. And I think that though at first it seemed like they would compromise miniatures when they're printed out, I think that that's maybe playing more for the community that uses Hero Forge for art. The thinner weapons just feel more realistic in the hands, and it allows for a lot more detail and texturing. Speaking of texturing, something else that I've wildly appreciated is wood and metal having more texturing. Previously, a lot of these things were just left blank, and it was down to you to add your wooden texture color and of course make some adjustments to give it that texture. But now we have a lot of different woods that have carves in them, that have twists, and you can actually see the lines in which the wood was cut. This is a huge improvement for me, and it really helps the realism push of these weapons and gear. And with the metal, the chips and the burns and the bruises of them really just highlight their battle worn or how they were forged, and it gives them more character. And hey, at the end of the day, when you're making a character and you want them to be a great visualization, why not also give yourself the best weapons and gear that have their own characterization so that overall your miniature just looks fantastic. The old and the new don't just stop there. Should you consider wearing this hat with a very thick brim, or should you opt straight for a thinner and fitted look? It's no surprise that in recent time, one of the biggest changes we've seen is armor pieces, specifically headgear, that aren't just shaped around the head. Rather, they're now shaped for the head. And here again, we can also see quite a big difference between these two hoods. The first one having quite a thick brim, and the second one being more shaped to the face and neck. For me, the cowls and hoods were one of the biggest changes that I've seen developed over the last couple of months. And it's ever a wonder why you would go back and select those first few rather than these new and improved hoods right at your disposal. In this video, we have displayed a range of weapons and hats, but there is so much more. I want to know what you guys think of this topic. Do these older models have a place, or are they outdated and screaming for a rework? I think that though I do not personally use them, I definitely think they still should be. There are some unique shapes that they create, and that may be useful to those savvy with the website. Between layering and positioning, these old relics might still find a place in some new ideas. Thank you so much for watching this video. I've saved a handful more content for a part 2. Let me know if you'd like to see that. And let me know if you guys found this conversation interesting, and hey, if you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. No pressure, just do it. Take care, Forgers.
RPG.
Shut up.